Hey, this is Skullgirdle, and welcome to 3 experimental releases that are goth, made by goths, have goth elements, are partially goth, or are extremely friendly to goths. I know it's only 3 releases, and that's a whole lot to say about it. Well, experimental music is pretty important to the innovation of music as a whole for any musical genre, and goth, of course, is no exception to that. From experimental music comes some of the innovation that leads to what may become popular in the future. At one time, when post-punk was first in its burgeoning stages, it was considered to be an experimental style of music. Experimental music has always been part of the goth genre, even if it's not listened to quite as much, and even if it's very difficult to catch a concert of an experimental band. So let's talk about these 3 releases that I find interesting and wanted to share with you. The first one is called Fraction, and it's actually a single that's 8 minutes and 53 seconds, so it's like 2 or 3 songs because it's so damn long. And it was created by Lisa Miles, who is a violinist. She plays goth violin as a soloist, and she also plays with Jesu Crisis, who has just finished up a tour of Latin America. And Jesu Crisis is a post-punk death rock band, or gothic rock death rock band. She collaborated with Egan, who you may have heard of from This Burning Effigy, Vol Distill, and currently October Burns Black, although Vol Distill may also be current. I'm not quite sure about that one because I haven't really done my research there, so let's pretend that's not happening. So we have 2 musicians who are very familiar with goth music getting together and doing something that's different. That's very different. You know, you take this violin and you just lay vocals on it, and that's all it is. There's no drum, there's no nothing. So the violin and the vocals handle, obviously, the vocals, but they handle the rhythm and they handle the string sounds and any filling instrumentation, and they do it quite effectively. And one thing I noticed about Lisa Miles' violin playing is that she has a lot of scratch. And by scratch, I mean that it's not all sweet sounding violin. And there are a few places in here where the violin is reminiscent of, but not the same style as, a violin player in a band by the name of Turaf the Hajduk. And the reason I mentioned Turaf the Hajduk, they do not sound anything alike. Please don't misunderstand me. But that violin player has got a serious amount of scratch. And he did this thing where he was like, down the violin string. And while Lisa is not playing exactly like that, it reminds me a little bit of that. It's very effective in what they're trying to create here. Egan is singing all the layers. I mean, there's layers upon layers upon layers of vocals in this song. It's called Fraction. It makes you feel kind of fractured. It has, if I listen to it at the wrong time, it will touch off my anxiety just a little bit where I'm like, okay, I got to stop listening to this. And I think that that is quite intentional on their part. So I'm just going to put this sucker in the middle of the song. I mean, it's experimental. Why not have a horrible cut in there somewhere, right? Never seen before. See, it's where she went with that sound right there was part of why I feel like she's got that scratch. It's very interesting. That's going to be on Bandcamp, and they are producing more music. I just don't know when it's going to be released. So our next up, we have a band I've talked about before, and that is Ornament AG Oro. And the reason I could think that they are dark wave, kind of mixing on that edge of new wave with a little tiny bit of witch house in there, and they call themselves new goth. And to me, just by its nature, if you call yourself new goth, you're experimental. They have something very unusual, and that is a singer who sings an entire fucking album in falsetto. And I am so entranced by this idea and so impressed with such strong vocals done in such a difficult style and so consistently done that this actually made my top 10 releases of 2018. So we're going to play my favorite song, part of my favorite song, which is Give Me That. Do you hear that heavy electronic drum? which is what makes me think Witch House, honestly. I have an untrained ear. This sounds right there, has that experimental feel of being pulled and pushed. And I think what's so interesting about this band is that they've mixed these elements and still managed to make it sound pretty fucking dark. There's something about this album that speaks to that kind of melancholia, kind of that darker goth sound to me, while we've got this high-toned falsetto and this dong, ting, dong, ting, dong, ting. It's kind of like the beat is taking you down, down, down. And then when the voice, especially when it gets to that warbling sound, when he's singing with that warbling, it kind of has this fading effect. And it just makes me think of the ethereal kind of like Ophelia under the water kind of thing. And it just sounds so interesting. I love this band, y'all. I love it. I can't wait to see what they do next. Neon Tzigane is out of London. And these guys have just thrown it all to the wind and made a merry-go-round of mixing sounds and genre. Like, for real. Like, there's a song in here that sounds like metal. There's a song in here that sounds like goth. There's a sound in here that sounds a little bit new wave. And this first one sounds dark wave. And they have really just thrown it all in. But some of the themes, when you hear the lyrics and stuff, they have kind of that darker feel. The first song has that kind of dark wave. When hell freezes over. Oh my god, horrible cut. Neon Witch has a more metal sound. Let's get to the metal. That refrain there. And then Unplanned End. I think it's more new wave. Dream pop, maybe. It's amazing to me that this band can actually sound consistent, like cohesive. Like this is all put out by the same band because they have so many things feeding in. And I know I just played you little bits and pieces, but that's because I want to talk a little bit more about this band because I sometimes wonder if this is the tide of things to come. I think it's really interesting and kind of surprising how cohesive these songs sound together because I don't think they should. And yet they somehow sound consistent. And that really, I feel, is because of the vocals. The vocals have the same effects on all the songs. They have a little bit of echo on all the songs, and they kind of tie the album together. And it makes for some pretty listenable music. Neon Tzigane also has a little bit of a satirical edge, as you can see by the lyrics on Neon Witch. You're driving to your circle and all this kind of stuff because people are equating the goth scene with witches. And I need to make a whole video on that because I'm not willing to go into that diatribe on this video because this is the song that I actually really kind of love because of the lyrics. So this is the song that actually attracted me to this EP. Okay, y'all, there's a weird coincidence with these three bands and me. And that's not why I'm making this video. I've been wanting to make this video for like 2 months, maybe 3 months. Just it seems like forever. And that is that I have personally interacted with all three of these acts. And they're all nice people. Every single one that I've interacted with is nice people. And so it kind of makes a video like this more of a pleasure to make when you know that you're supporting people who are actually supporting the scene. Because these guys are all supporting the scene. And on top of that, they're fucking fantastic people. But with these smaller bands, it makes a big difference to them. If you just comment and say, I really like your album. Comment and say, I really like your style. That bass playing kicked ass. That drum really hit hard. Those lyrics meant so much to me. Because, you know, they feel like they're just kind of putting this out there and hoping for the best. You know, they're hoping that somebody will listen to it So that kind of feedback that you're enjoying it means a lot to, well, all entertainers. Most people who are entertainers and musicians who put together a band and actually play for people are entertainers. And so I just encourage you to just make a comment once in a while, add them on your Instagram, follow them, whatever, and just make a comment. Tell them that you like what they're doing and why. I mean, the worst they can do is not answer. Well, I haven't had that experience yet. So, hey, thanks for watching. Until next time.